I don't. All right, so you create your folder just like you would for anything. And then I'm just gonna drag that folder down and drop it on the Atom icon to open it in Atom. So I get my little, I get my project bar over here. I'm gonna make my index.html. I'm gonna make my CSS folder. I'm gonna make my style.css.
What do you want us to call it?
I just called it grid systems. You call it whatever. If right now I'd rather have you just follow along, okay, and watch what I'm doing instead of trying to work at the same time, because I feel like you'll be able to sort of follow it maybe a little bit better than like trying to listen and understand what I'm doing and then trying to do it at the same time. Does that make sense? Okay, because you'll have the video to refer back to if you need it, and you're gonna have time today to work. What is today? Wednesday? Yeah, I mean this will be due on Monday, but it shouldn't take you long. Okay, and then we're not going to use any images, so we don't need an images folder. So really just our index and our CSS. Okay. Well, actually, we should probably name our CSS. Since this is, let's do our news site first. That's going to be the hard one. Well, let's do our portfolio site, and then I'll let you guys do the news site, because the news site will be the kicker. That'll be the fun one, because that'll have a lot of stuff. So I'm going to rename this real quick. I'm going to call this one portfolio.css. Okay. All right, so index. All right, let's do our HTML. This is a grid system portfolio grid template. Like that. We'll do our link right away for our CSS. We have to edit the default name because it's, unless you call yours master.css, but you should probably just call it portfolio. Screen, no title. I mean, you can leave this stuff, it's fine. Or you can delete it, doesn't matter. All right, I'm gonna give myself a few lines, a little bit of breathing space here. So we just need some content. If it helps you, you can take a piece of paper and sort of draw out a design. With the portfolio sites that we were looking at, we know that there is usually like one big image that takes up almost the entire browser, and then maybe there's a bunch of stuff underneath that. So maybe we'll use that as our template. So if this is, I'm just going to draw. So this is going to be our scrollable page. Okay. And then this is going to be our browser window. Why are we always the class that gets music outside? I can't wait for winter when it's too cold to sit outside and play music. Old man yells at cloud.
Old man yells at cloud.
All right, this is our great rendering of a browser window. Actually, I did it wrong, but whatever. Okay. So this is what I'm talking about when I talk about like our scrollable content. All right, this is just our page. It goes past the bottom of the browser. All right, but this is just going to be sort of like where all our content is. If it helps you, feel free to draw out something before you sit down and write your HTML. All right, but for now, I mean, I'm going to do it. Just you'll get to a point where you can just sort of keep it in your head. But so we're going to have one element. We're going to have one element, our main element, that's going to take up this entire width. There's going to be some stuff in there, so maybe we'll have some text here in the middle. Maybe we'll have like some menu. It's kind of hip to do menus like on the side over here right now, so down instead of horizontal. Then we'll have, then all you gotta do is think about, okay, do you want to do a 2-column system, a 3-column system, or a 4-column system? And what I mean by that is, do you want to divide your width in half, in thirds, or in quarters? All right, as a system to organize your content by. All right. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to determine the width of like your smallest unit, okay, your smallest element on your page. So if I have a block of content block, my smallest content block, if I have if I'm using a 2-column system, you might want to take a guess at what my width for my smallest content block is going to be on a 2-column system. If I'm dividing this in half.
50%.
Yeah, 50% of what though?
Viewport width?
Yeah, 50 viewport width. So my smallest one in a 2-column system is going to be, that's going to be my smallest width. For the most part, okay? So you can kind of break that and do some counterpoint with it. So I would have, my 2 main ones are going to have 50 viewport width and then 100 viewport width, and you'd go in increments of that, okay? You try not to mess with it too much. You won't see a whole lot of 2-column systems because they're really rigid, right? There's not much you can do with them. In a 3-column system, what are you going to see? For content blocks. It's your smallest. Thirds. So what?
33%.
Yeah, 33. That's a little tricky because, yeah, it's 33
Okay.
infinitely repeating, right? But you also need to like maybe build yourself in some margins. I usually like to do like 2%. So I can get like a either 2% in the middle, or I can do 1% somewhere. You know, you can build it in. So usually what I do is it's supposed to be 50, but it's more like a nominal 48. Actually, that give me 49. I mean, yeah, you can definitely read that. So 49 viewport width, 49% of the viewport width. Whereas here I would do something like 32 viewport width, and then another one, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So then in a 4, it would be 25% of viewport width, or that would be your measurement, but your nominal measurement would be a little different. It'd be like 23 or something like that. Okay, whatever you want to do to give yourself some spacings. Have a good example of that. I use this example a lot because I know it. So this is the landing page for the department. I've got the main image here. I've got kind of a banner. We have lots of information, so we have to have lots of stuff all the time. But it's actually a 4-column system, which you can see here. So these are my smallest units, and everything else sort of builds off of that and is an arrangement of that. You can see I kind of broke it here, doing 2/3 with this element, 1/3 with that element. Oops.
So you can overwrite whatever you chose?
Yeah. Just don't do it a lot, right? You still need the basic grid system to be recognizable, because that system lends, like we use grid systems because it lends us a feeling of stability. Like we can understand the page right away. We can understand the composition of the page right away. If you didn't do a grid system, it would be a really frustrating user experience because you wouldn't know where to expect stuff, right? You don't want your user to notice the system necessarily. You want them to just use the page. So if you make a good system where everything kind of aligns, then they won't notice it. When you break that alignment is when they notice it, which is why you only do it every now and then. It's counterpoint, right? Right. An entire piece of music made entirely of counterpoint is noise, essentially. Okay, sorry. I use the music analogy a lot, and like no one seems to get it. But yeah, so then our 4 system would be 25. So I'm probably going to go off of, for a portfolio site. You'll see a 4-column sometimes with news organizations because they have a lot of information. If you're doing something where they have a lot of information, then you're going to want to break that grid system down even more. Sometimes you'll even see a 5-column system, okay? Or I've seen 6 before. That gets nuts. I think New York Times actually uses 6. Oops. Hey, it knew it. Wow, I totally typed it in wrong. Yeah, they use a 6-column, 5-column. No. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're using a 5-column system, which and then here they kind of break it, but they break it in a really good way. They have like a big. He does not look real. That's like the uncanny valley. Do you guys know what the uncanny valley is?
It's where something, the more progressively human it looks, the more creepy it looks.
The creepier it looks, yeah.
Yeah.
So you have this like you have this curve, right? Of like it's fidelity. This is a fidelity graph, and it, like enjoyability, I guess, or like
Yeah,
likableness or
Like,
something,
yeah.
right? So on this axis is human, not human, and then on this axis is sad, happy, right? And the less human something looks, if it's meant to be human, we don't really like it all that much. The closer it gets to being human, we kind of really like it, and then there's just like this total valley in this graph, and then it goes right back up. And this area is really like most cartoon movies are somewhere like in this area. Sometimes you'll see some like anime, like 3D modeled anime stuff that kind of gets here. Video games are kind of in this area sometimes. Just depends, like the realistic ones. But
Okay.
they really try to avoid
The uncanny valley.
the uncanny valley because you're totally turned off by what you see.
It's like
Like this
why-
guy.
It's
Um,
why a lot of dolls look kind of creepy.
Yeah, dolls. Sometimes like lifelike dolls sit inside that uncanny valley and they're just gross, right? And that's why. That's why, because it's like it's missing something. Like it's so close that your mind wants to think it's human, but there's something wrong about it, and it's just yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
It's like the
is
3D
that
printed
not
heads.
Oh, I think he is. I think he's probably just had a lot of plastic surgery.
Are you someone who needs dolls to look real? You know, like layers of paint and stuff?
Mhm.
These pictures of these dolls, oh my gosh, they look like human babies. And it is just
Creepy.
so uncomfortable.
Well, so they do a good job of breaking up your expectation of a grid system here with this creepy person. But no, it's mostly the big image. It's the big image and then the little column over there, which is still sort of hearkening back to their 5-column system. But then they switch to a 6 here, and then back to the 5. So they just have like this 6 column, which feels a little off. But then they're back to the 5. So they're really repeating that 5 a lot until they get down here. So New York Times, I don't know. That's what they built off of their actual headline page or their actual newspaper. So they're kind of sticking with it. So for the portfolio site, since we don't have a ton of information to do, we're going to stick to a 3-column system because it's the most versatile. Okay, a 3-column system is super, super easy to take advantage of, to modify, to thirds, like I was talking about, are really satisfying because they can be symmetrical and asymmetrical. You can balance back and forth, which feels dynamic. And what I mean by that is you can put a lot of weight, like on this side of the screen, by having something take up 2/3, or you can flip-flop that. So you can do an image like NPR does. They do an image on that side, and then they do text, and then they flip-flop it. The Intercept did the same thing, like where they'd have this unit, and then they would flip it so that the text was on the right-hand side. We just, flip it horizontally or vertically. I always confuse those. Flipping horizontally flips along the horizontal axis, right? Goes, yeah, okay. Anyway, so we're going to use a 3-column system. So you're going to use for your basic unit those thirds. So we'll have a main unit, maybe then. Looking at those others, you're going to have something where you showcase your projects right away, right, on those portfolio sites. You don't just stop here and then make your user click on these buttons to take you to another page that actually has the project, right? You go ahead and load that on that first page, right? Because you want to reduce how many steps your user has to go through, clicks in this instance, to actually see your work, right? Maybe you have, and this is really popular right now, you break up your vertical page into these horizontal sections, and these horizontal sections can break out to more specific pages where there's more stuff, right? But it gives them sort of like an index, a visual index or a visual menu system that is more enjoyable that they can sort of scroll through and see. And we saw that on that Femme Fatale portfolio site. I didn't bring it back up, but It's on this one. Go back out to their site real quick. So they've got their big, they got their nice little loading animation because it's an experience. You can see our project, which will just scroll me down. I wonder if did it scroll me down or did it just take me to projects? It's annoying. Why is it not? Oh, it's like, okay. So this is the oh, that bugs me. We'll talk about it in a second. So I'll scroll up, and there's like, okay, let me scroll down maybe. No, there we go. I'll scroll up, and there's a lag. There's a noticeable pause in its scrolling. Super annoying. Super annoying as a user. You want it to like scroll when you scroll because you think it's not like responding, right? There should be something, even if you want to control that scroll speed as a designer somewhat, which is totally fine. There should still be something that is moving at the speed of the mouse, the speed of the input. Right? When you make the input hesitate, you make the user think the input that it didn't get any input, that there's no visual indication that the user did anything, which is going to make the user feel like the system didn't actually receive the input. Does that make sense? And it's frustrating. Like who's got my grandmother, for instance, like if the remote doesn't work right away, she just starts mashing buttons and she gets mad. And then her TV will change like six channels or something. Then she gets mad because then she's hitting it again. It's frustrating if it doesn't respond right away. So anyway, so this is broken up into those systems. This horizontal. God damn, I hate that. Sorry, it's really annoying because I just swiped it. It's hard to control your navigation. It's really, really frustrating. That is really frustrating. Anyway, so these are just horizontal sections. They take up. It's like all you're doing is moving your browser window down in these steps, right? So that you can really control how everything looks. So that's what they're doing there. It's really popular for sites. Maybe that's why they scored a 7.4. This is actually a really good TV show, this Occupied. Oh, it's a game. Anyway, I gotta look at that. BlueStack. Here, we'll go here. It's like a restaurant or something. Yeah. So this is similar. Oh, putting video right here, also really popular right now. It's kind of nice, kind of dynamic. Oh, floaty elements drive me bonkers too. They're fine. They're fine. It's a nice effect. Makes the page feel three-dimensional. But this is doing the same thing, it's breaking it up into sections, giving you different information, then hey, I can learn more, right? Which you click on it and it actually takes you to a page that tells you more that is still following that same kind of template. Okay. So we're gonna do something like that, and then we'll just break it up. So maybe you'll have, if we're breaking this up into thirds, I need a ruler. We're breaking this up into thirds. So you're just going to keep, we're not actually, of course, going to draw a grid, but we are going to use the math for it. All right. So then you're going to have you're just going to flip-flop and move your elements around. So you got your centered main element here. Maybe you have something underneath it that is like that. Maybe that's negative space. Maybe then you have like one thing here. Maybe you have something here. It's Tetris, essentially. It's like content Tetris, right? Your blocks just all have certain sizes you can play with and move them around. And you have another big thing. It's just up to you how you want to move stuff around, how you want to show them. Okay? All right, so what this means for actually doing it, and like I said, the portfolio is going to be the easiest one. Let's go back to Adam. So let's do 5 sections. So we'll do section, and I'm going to do, section class first. Let's do that. This is going to be our first big image. I'm just going to make it an empty box right now. So we'll go first. We'll say background color. Let's pick a background color. Why are we showing RGB? Oh, where did my... Oh, it's down here. I don't care what colors you use. Use whatever you want.
Why do you do a color finder again?
Command Shift C. All right, so background color, we need to give it a width. So we're going to say 100% the viewport width. But then we are also going to give it a height. We're going to say 100% of the viewport height. Okay. So if we load this now, we don't have any content underneath it, so we're not going to be able to scroll past it, but it didn't do anything. Why didn't it do anything? First. Seriously, why didn't that do anything? Portfolio. Did I spell that right? Portfolio CSS. Portfolio CSS. Huh, weird. Well, let's find out. So if it doesn't work like you expect it to, right click on it, find out why. Because I didn't save my HTML. Oh, no, that's right. That's totally fine. What's going on? There we go. All right, so it showed up that time. Oh, okay, and here's something else. So notice this annoying padding going on, this white space, right? That's that user agent style sheet I was talking about. Browsers will automatically add some styling, all right? It's called the user agent style sheet. If we right click and inspect, get really comfortable inspecting, okay, your page. Look there when you have problems first. Don't go to your code and stare at it and try to figure it out. Look at it in the browser, how the browser is interpreting it, and figure it out there, okay, first. But if we scroll down, so this stuff down here, anything that shows up as this sort of pink, if you're using Safari, it's pink. This sort of, this pink, these brackets, these curly braces, okay? This just the icon for CSS styles, okay? If it's pink, that means it's a user agent style sheet. It means the browser is doing it. If it's blue, it's something you did. What does it look like in Chrome? Let's find out. How many of you are using Chrome? Raise your hand if you're using Chrome really high so I can see. 8. Who's using Safari? 5, 6, 7. Okay, I'll just keep them both open. Who's using something else?
Firefox.
Okay, Firefox is fine. You might want to grab Firefox Developer Edition when you get a chance. It's a little more robust than Firefox in terms of web development.
Gotcha.
All right, so Chrome is doing the same thing. It's giving me that padding. Let's take a look
How
at.
did you get the color if it didn't show up the first time?
It didn't show up the first time because I forgot to save my HTML. I don't want this to be responsive. Come here. All right. So yeah. So the user agent style sheet is actually just labeled in Chrome. So it'll show up when you have your styles tab selected. It'll show up down here at the bottom as a gray, but then it's also just labeled user agent style sheet. So that's kind of helpful. All right. This is just stuff that the browser does automatically. So if I click on there, you see this margin, this 8-pixel margin that it's given me? That's what's giving me that space there. So if I turn that off, oh, you're not going to turn that off? It's annoying. Are you going to let me turn it off? Oh, no, it's locked. Okay, so the only way to get rid of it in your code, actually, or even in the browser here, we can do it, is just to set margin 0, and then it'll go full screen.
Can I see yours again?
You shouldn't be working right now. I'm serious. You shouldn't be working. You should, unless you feel 100% confident in what you're doing, don't work right now. Just listen, and then I'll give you time to work. Okay? I'll try to finish up in like the next 12 minutes. So all I'm doing is I'm overwriting it. All right? That's all you need to do to turn off the user agent style sheet, because it will listen to your styles before it listens to the user agent. Does that make sense? So if the user agent is doing something, like if you have something showing up and you're like, why the hell is that there? I didn't do that, right? Odds are it's the user agent, and you just need to set it. You need to have a setting for it, which means maybe it means 0, right? In our case, it means 0. So I'm just going to go into my code, and I call these resets. Sometimes you're going to have a lot of them, but I'm just going to set margin 0, and actually I'm just going to go ahead and set padding 0. I don't think it's going to show up. So for the body element, remember if you want to just refer to an element, you just write it out. You don't need a symbol in your CSS. Then I'm just going to do margin 0, padding 0. Come back, refresh it, and now it shows up for me. Go to Chrome, refresh, cool. All right, so that green is full screen, which is really, that's what I want. Let's go on to section. Might as well do the rest of our sections. So actually, let's just do section times 4. I want 4 more sections. And then if you hold Command and click, you can give yourself multiple cursors. So we can just write our class out real quick. Hit escape, it'll go back to the original cursor. So second, third, fourth, fifth. So again, we're using semantic HTML. So we're using section. Class second, maybe that's going to be something else. So second. And we'll do a different background color. Oops, did that for. Maybe we'll go to yellow this time. Or maybe we'll go down this way. We'll go towards blue. Yeah, I like worm colors. Alright. Oh, not RGB. We should default to hex. It's really annoying. Hex is the most commonly used color encoding. Alright. We need to give this one a width. 100 viewport width. And then here's where it gets a little tricky. So that height of 100% of the viewport height kind of should only work for the very first element. It might work for the second one, now that I'm thinking about it. Actually, I think it will. All right, let's go back and check it. So now we have content. Oh, it does work. Oh, good. So that's how you can keep your sections being the browser height. Notice though, like if I'm like this, you know, if I'm for some weird reason working with a browser that's only half of my screen, and I hit that again, oh no, it's keeping it. That's good. It does make your sections a little smaller, although when you adjust your page, they change themselves really nicely. All right. Do you have a hand up, Chloe?
No.
Oh, okay. All right, so we'll do that one. Maybe for third, we'll do something else. Background color. And really, I'm just going to copy. There is actually an easier way to do this. Well, this is fine for now. I'm not going to worry about it. What would be the more efficient way to write this code?
That's one class.
One class that controls
The height and
width.
and then
Yep. Do the individual like IDs or something for, yeah, for the color. Which actually, let's, you know, we might as well do that since. Is that
do like an intro thing.
we could do first color. Yeah, you could do a child thing if you wanted to repeat the colors, but if you want to be able to set them specifically,
Can't you?
you could still do an nth child for that too. But that might just get too confusing. That might get too confusing. We'll just, you know what, this is fine. We'll just manually set them all like this. Sorry. The scripter in me is like, hey, we can do this in like 6 words. Anyway. All right, background color, you know, have a system for your background color. That is not the background color I was looking for. That's better. It's not totally in line with my other one, but it's sort of. And again, the width. All right. And you don't have to use that 100 if you don't want to. But if we are kind of following sort of the trend of portfolio sites, they tend to have sections that are that full size. So, hey, it picked a color for us. Look at that. I think I was these, so let's come back here. All right. Okay, and instead of typing, I'm just gonna copy paste. All right. Wow, it really wants to pick my colors for me. Okay, so that'll give me my 5 sections, all my different colors. Oof, God, that's hard to look at. I'm gonna come back, redo that one. Come here. That might also be too bright, but we'll see. No, that's not bad. Okay, so it gives us the 5 sections that we wanted for our portfolio site. And you don't have to use these colors. Yeah, John.
Why is there horizontal scroll?
Oh, that's a good question.
Why is
Hmm.
But it was only after we added other sections.
Yeah. There's no padding. Is it happening in Chrome too?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Could be because it's taking the actual dimension of the browser and the scroll bars are getting in the way of that. So what you could do, if that really annoys you, yeah, me too. Fast way to change that. So a fast way to like select everything of one type, like if you want to select all the words that say height, just select one and then hit Command D a bunch of times and it'll select them all, and that'll give you multiple cursors. You could come in and change it to like, I think it's like 95. Still doing it. 90? Still doing it. I don't know. I don't know why that's doing
What's
it.
going on?
Oh wait, because I'm messing with height. It's width, Alex. It's width. Nothing. I'm having a spaz attack over here. Yeah, so it's not 5, so maybe 9. 9 is still giving us a tiny bit.
I just changed it to percent instead of viewport width. And it works.
Does it work?
Yeah.
It's really weird that viewport width wasn't working though. Okay.
Type with many things before, you look at this.
Yeah. Okay. So 100% is going to work, whereas viewport width isn't necessarily going to work. So the scroll bars, they kind of mess things up a bit. All right. Good. Thanks for figuring that out. All right. So that gives us our sections. Then it's up to us to just put some content in there. So our first section, that's where you're gonna have a nav that you're gonna want to play with. Let's do like a main kind of call to action, or at least like a welcome message or something in the middle. All right. So we'll do that, and we'll do a nav. And I want you to do your nav on the side. Okay. So we go top to bottom, left to right. What do you think is going to come first in our HTML? The top. Yeah, but which element are we going to put? Which element is on top? The nav. The nav. The menu is what I'm talking about. Like this thing is essentially going to be like a menu, right? If we're doing a design, but because it's going to go, we're going to have it go vertically like that. It's still starting up here, so it's still above that, and it should still be above that in your HTML. So your nav should come first. Okay. All right. So nav. And then we can do, I use unordered lists, and we talked about them on Monday. We'll do unordered list element, and we'll do like 5 list elements. Okay. You don't have to put any words in here if you don't want to. You can just make them boxes. If you want to keep everything sort of organized, it's up to you how you organize it. Just in your CSS, you can do what you want. I was going to keep like everything for first section in the same place, everything for second section in the same place, which is probably smart. Then I was like, oh, but what if you just do sections and then elements and junk like that? But let's keep it a one-to-one. So we'll go first nav, or you can just give the nav an ID or a class. Remember, there's multiple ways of targeting elements. So first nav, let's make it let's give it a width, 50 viewport width. Let's give it a height, and let's give it a height of, it's a good ratio. I don't know. Normally the height would be determined by the content in it. So like if you put words in it, the height is going to be determined by that. So maybe we should just do that. Menu. Oops. I don't want to write menu. Menu. Okay, so we'll just go off of that. Then we don't have to worry about setting that height. All right. So let's do maybe some. So remember, this is the nav. So the nav has inside of it an unordered list, and then the unordered list has inside of that a bunch of list elements. Okay. So the way that this looks like, if we were to draw it out as a box. Let's think visually about this. If we were to draw this out as a box. Right. This is our nav. This is our unordered list. And then we have 5, essentially this is divided up into 5 chunks. They don't have any size right now, but these are list elements. Okay, does that make sense? That's what that is. If we to think about that visually, that's what that's doing right now. All right. By default, well, actually, by default, it would be listed out this way. I drew it in flex mode. Huh?
You need to add the flex.
You need to add flex to get it horizontally. Sorry, I was thinking in terms of flex. And it's going to be a little different how we do this because of how we want that to be in the center. But does that make sense to everybody? How that's organized right now? Yeah? Okay. All right, so let's just do that for now. The unordered list, which I am going to give an ID, we're going to call it menu, the really generic term, menu items. Remember, ID is a hash. Gosh. Menu items, I'm past my 12 minutes, but oh well. Menu items, we're just going to call this, like, this is what needs to have flex put on it, all right? Now we are going to make it vertical, so you're probably saying, why are we putting flex on it if it's already going to be vertical? Because we still need it to have flex so that we can use Flexbox to make it vertical in a very specific way, all right? Because we don't want it to be like a horizontal word, and then underneath that another horizontal word. We want the words themselves to be vertical. Does that make sense? This is some fun trickiness, okay? All right, so this nav is probably going to be like the trickiest thing that we do. Because in CSS, the dot means class, and the hashtag means ID. So anything over here, see how the colors match? Like that's blue, and that's blue. Oops, that's blue. Yeah. And then orange, I guess. Gold.
How did you do that thing again where it's like you make many list items at once?
Emmett, are you working along with me?
Well, I forgot how to do it anyway.
Okay, well, right now, you can go back to the video at the end, okay? But I don't want to get I want to like try to get this done so that
Sir.
we can have a little time to work. All right, so display flex, and then let's go and we have lots of stuff open. Where is it? All right, so let's take a look at our flex box. So, okay, so I know already that I can do some stuff with flex direction, so I can make it a column, so it goes straight down. That is probably still going to give me like vertical word or horizontal words. We're going to have to play with some CSS transformation stuff, which this is going to lead up to what we're going to do next week. We're going to do some animations with CSS next week. So we're going to use something called transformation in CSS to actually rotate the words 90 degrees. Does that make sense? Okay. But we're still going to use flex to control direction. So menu items, display flex. Let's go flex direction. We're going to go column. And we should be able to actually rotate the unordered list. But let's look it up. So again, Mozilla CSS transfer. Actually, you could just type in rotate since that's what we want to do. And it'll tell you how to use it. All right. So rotate is part of transform. I know that now because I started messing around with this stuff and was like, oh, I guess here's all the different things you can do with transform. You can translate, which just means move. So you can move stuff in different directions. You can scale it. Here's our rotation that we want. You can rotate in 3 dimensions, which is fun. You can rotate on 1 axis. Perspective junk. You can also do multiple functions, just like with margin and padding. Yeah.
Is transform probably how that portfolio site was doing all that funky stuff?
Yeah.
That text?
Probably. Yeah, probably. I would have to inspect it because there's a lot of different ways that you could accomplish that. But yeah, probably. It might have been JavaScript too.
Okay. But one way to do it is with
Right. This would be faster. JavaScript would be a little laggy, at least in terms of like page loading time. So okay, so we're gonna play with transform rotate. Oops. So then we'll go transform rotate, and then we're just gonna rotate degrees. So we're gonna go 90 degrees. If I remember it correctly, that's gonna go clockwise. I can't remember. I'm gonna rotate. Here we go. Transform 20 degrees. Yeah, okay, so 20 degrees will make it transform clockwise. So let's make sure we have this stuff saved. We're just going to look at it really quick. Hey, look at that. Did not work. No, this happens all the time. All the freaking time. What are you doing up there? Why is there suddenly space up there? Oh, because you're right there, I see. But why? That's weird. We should at least be seeing the words menu. Alright, take that out. There they are. Why did rotating it do that? Oh, I bet you we have to rotate each individual thing then. Okay, so we can't rotate the parent. I was hoping we could. Menu items, list elements, transform, rotate, 90 degrees. Hey, it broke again. I don't know, that shouldn't have broke. Well, maybe we won't do that. I don't really have time to fix it right now. I took the margin off to make it stop breaking the page. I wonder why that's doing that. They're there. Oh, I know why. Because they're up above the top of the page. So then all we have to do is actually translate too. So we'll do translate. We're going to translate in the Y. Because we need to bring it down. X is horizontal on your screen, Y is vertical. Okay, so Y, and then we're going to go, if you go positive, numbers, it's going to bring it down. If you go negative numbers, it'll bring it up. Okay, and in the y, in x, positive numbers go to the right, negative numbers go to the left. Because the top left, this is true for all screens, and for writing anything that has to do with a screen, any kind of code. The top left corner of your screen is 0, 0, right? So if you remember from geometry classes, hopefully you remember from geometry classes, when you're given an axis, or two-dimensional grid, you guys remember this, right? Hopefully some of you, yeah? All right, this middle point for your x-axis and y-axis, this is 0, 0, okay? On a screen, this is where we're starting from. This is my screen, okay? So if I want to, although actually, I mean, it is, oh God, and this is where the analogy breaks down a little bit, because these are not negative numbers in the y. Although maybe they are actually, now that I think about it. Let's try it. I might be totally wrong. I just had that brain fart where I was like, hold on. All right, so let's go negative 100 pixels. See what that does. Nothing. Still there. It's annoying because they're up there. I just can't see them. Actually, this is what we could do. We could give them a background color. That'll let us see them. Let's go white or gray. There we go. So there they are. All right, so now we just need to get them down. Oh, So it's actually not applying it. I mean, it is, but why? Why is it ignoring it? Oh, it's the X, that's why. Duh. This should be up there. Could be something to do with our width, maybe? Oh, the fact that we don't have a width. I had to get all fancy. I wanted to show you guys something fun to do. Let's go 33 viewport width and see what that gives us. Ugh. All right, well, it's not working right now, so I'm going to take it out and not worry about it. Because it's kind of distracting from what we're trying to do. Who's got a cat thing going off? I keep hearing like a meow or something. I hear something, I swear. Nope, I just heard it again. All right.
I swear I heard it and then I didn't.
Let's go justify content space between, pulls things out, margin 0, that's that default junk it does. Can move it down by adding some padding. I'm going to add padding in rems. And then let's get rid of the bullet point, which is list style type. None. All right, I'm going to take off the background color. John, are you still trying to get them vertical? Or are you?
Oh, were we?
No, I'm not doing it anymore. I just thought maybe you kept working on it. All right. That's my other thing. Let's do the next one. So we'll just make it an article, make it an H1, and then just say welcome. Right now it's going to show up right there, but we want to move it to the middle of the screen. So we need to, let's give our class main, or what do we want to call this? Just call it welcome.
Why do you view the article?
No reason. Really no reason. I mean, this could just be as easily be a div.
What's the difference?
There's no functional difference. The difference is in how they're used. They're used mostly for other coders that are going to be reading it or yourself. So article is semantic, right? So you would mostly use an article element if you set up something repeating, like we're going to do today. You have a repeating set of like styles and structure, right? You would use an article for that. I just used it because like in my mind it's the next thing down in the hierarchy, but it really doesn't matter. A div would work just as well.
After section, you would use it.
Yeah. Section's pretty general. Article's a little more specific. All right. So then this is going to be class welcome. All right. So I'm going to give this a width of 100. Let's just go 100% so we don't run into that overflow problem. And then let's give it a height of actually, let's not do its height. We're going to let the content itself determine the height. But we will do text align center. And this is where text align center should work. All right, puts us in the middle. That's great. But we also want it to be in the middle of the screen itself. So we're going to do display flex. And then we're going to justify content center. Align items center, and this is where you'll want to give it a height. Then you want to give it a height of probably 100%, although that's probably not going to work. Viewport height. Well, it did work. It's a little low. It's being pushed down right by the menus, the nav. So what you could do is say 90 instead. That'll move it up. Actually, I'm going to go 80. That's a little more comfortable, right, to look at. It's the actual like perceptual middle of the screen if we're looking at it. I swear to God, I keep hearing a cat noise.
Oh, I hear it now.
Who has sound on? Anybody?
It sounds like it's coming from.
Okay. I mean, I'm just curious. Like, I just keep hearing it. Okay. So really, we can probably take out this text line center. I don't think we're going to need it anymore. Nope. So what's getting us into the center with that is by setting the parent. Okay, we're setting class welcome, which is the parent of the H1 that actually says welcome. We're setting that parent to have flex, and then we're using justify content and align items. All right, so justify the content of this container, so the stuff inside of it, which is that H1, and then align the items of this container, which is that H1. Does that make sense? That gets us into that middle. I messed with the height. You need to declare the dimensions of the parent in order to be able to align and justify. Okay, like if we take out this height, align items in the center isn't going to work anymore, because all it's taking for the height is the actual content. Okay, and the actual content is just this little bit right here. Yeah.
Can you just remind me one more time, like why we need display flex there?
Yeah, display flex invokes the ability to use flex for position.
Okay, and the flex things are like the
Justify content, align items. This is why I say to have this guide to Flexbox up and be looking at it while you're working. So I needed to set my container, right, the parent, to have flex on it, and then I wanted to move stuff around. So then I come over, okay, what do I need to do to the items, the flex items, right? I want them to flex align self. Well, actually, I didn't do anything on the, so I did justify content over here on the container. So that was the center. And then align items, which is to the center. Does that make sense? Of the parent. Okay, cool. All right. So that gets us to the center. Should look good in all of our browser pages. Yeah, cool. That gets us to the center. Now maybe I don't like the menu system there. Maybe I want it over on the right. Well, because we're using flex, that's actually really easy to do. So we have display flex, justify content, space between, which is fine. But then we can just do flex start. Or not flex start. Hold on, let's review it. Oh, flex, I'm sorry, justify content, flex end. But that's not really what I want to do. It's just going to make it reverse. Where is it? I guess it would be flex end. But I really want it to spread it out. Align self? Ooh, I don't think that's going to do what I want it to do. Yeah, alright, well, we'll try that. I don't think this is going to do what I want it to do. Let me think about this really quick. Menu items, first is 100%, that's right, okay. So let's actually do, the nav is 50%, first is 100. So we need to set it up here into the parent. Because we want to move the entire group, which is this nav. Okay, we want to flip it over to the right. So we set display flex for the parent, which is section first. And then we say, and all it's going to do, like the only child that section first has is nav, right? It doesn't have anything else. All we're doing is moving this nav around as a group. Okay, that's that overall group. So display flex, here we can do justify content, flex end, which is going to move it all over to the end of the container.
But welcome isn't going to move because it's already.
Welcome will stay where it is. Right. Well, this isn't even, welcome is not even part of that nav. Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh. No, it shouldn't move. Yeah, it shouldn't move. Right. Sorry. No, good. Thank you for catching that. And welcome did move. Welcome did move. Yeah, no, I forgot that welcome was part of that. Okay, so we might have to nest it. Oh, you know what? Let's do it this way then. Let's set this to be also 100%. Since we essentially have 2 overall containers, and then we will take nav can be 100. Yeah, all right. So then we can do this and do flex and man. This is not going to look right. I mean, sorry, this is messy. This menu ended up being more of a pain than I thought it was going to be. Make an unordered list with 5 list elements. I'm doing this in order to be able to nest it the way I want to nest it. I think I just got messed up actually. No, that's right. Okay, this is what I want. Menu things. This is where it gets a little funny sometimes. Yep. Display, flex, justify, content, space. And this is just so I can preserve that space between, so that we have, I'm gonna need a width.
Why don't we just make the first class a column?
The what?
Flex direction column, and then you can have the child have a justify content, flex start, flex end for the various.
Make first a column. I'm not following, sorry.
Make first column, and then we can have the divs inside of it.
Well, first doesn't. Oh, if we do flex and then.
Yeah, do flex and then do
Yeah, that would work. You guys are not gonna have any time to work today, are you? You okay, Nikki?
Well, I forgot my glasses today. So
Oh, that's annoying.
now. Or actually, I didn't forget them. I seem to have lost them, which is really not good.
Well, it's kind of like forgetting.
Wait, are those
Yep.
mine?
You left them in here on Monday then.
I mean, they've been in here for a few
Yeah, then they're mine. No, because I had my case today and I was like, where did my glasses go?
That's the nice thing about Creighton. You can leave something in the classroom and not usually going to walk
Yeah, I
away.
can see.
I think that's only in the journalism department.
Right, right.
Actually, I've left stuff in the library
All right.
and it's still been there.
That's amazing. Flex. Direction. Column.
Thank you. Yeah, no problem.
That did keep our menu items over there. But our list elements, we need to give a size. Nav with 100. With 50. All right, so let's explore this real quick. All right, so that should be, it's 100. No, okay. Flex end is giving us, give me a headache. Oh, I see what I did wrong. Oops.
You figured it out.
What do you mean?
To do you just wanted just to make sure there's right, you want to bulk in the center and then menu on the right. So we just did, so we had justify content on first as a center, and then for menu items we did justify content flex in, and then we did then menu items greater than li as adding one rem.
Yeah, okay, so the reason I didn't want to do that is because that's still going to keep it one rem even as you get smaller, like as you get responsive. So you're going to have to have a media query in there to adjust that padding at some point. And there is a way to make it more responsive where it will just change automatically. There's a way to use Flex to get it to do that. I'm just not nesting it correctly. But I mean, that would work. Like padding one rem here would give you, I mean, that gives you the padding you want right there.
Right. So you're saying when you make it smaller, you want the menu to switch to.
I want the menu items to get closer together. So like right now, if I just drag, see how their spacing stays completely consistent.
Why don't you just do a viewport width or
for the rem or for the padding? You can, but it's a little goofy. Like, so if we take this and do like, it's hard to judge. Like 2% of viewport width, 1% of viewport width. This also breaks down when you start getting smaller. Well, this stays pretty good actually. Yeah, I guess you could do it.
Not do top and bottom though, because it's going to move up and down. So you need to do padding left and padding right.
Oh, I don't care if it's top. I mean, top. That's fine.
It just bothers me.
No, I know. It doesn't bother me because it's still proportional to the screen.
Okay.
So for me, I'm like, that's fine. Because it's not like people are going to take the browser and go like this. They're going to see it on, different devices. So when they look at it on different devices, it's just going to be an actual change. It's like a flash, right? They're not going to see a change, so it's not actually going to move. So, but no, thanks. I mean, yeah. I was trying to like nest all the display stuff, which gets confusing. So, okay. So let's start putting the portfolio site together.